which had been made by boys' feet. Soon, gasping and panting and swinging my straw hat, I was at the bottom of Bumblebee Hill, where the gang was supposed to meet first. We all had a spooky feeling about meeting in that graveyard because there were so many stories in the world about graveyards having ghosts in them. So we'd planned to all go there together, and if there were any ghosts, we could all run away together anyway. I'd stopped to get rid of some of my extra breath, always having too much after running like that, when I heard a noise of underbrush crashing and breaking and a heavy body running. I looked up, and there lumbering toward me was my best friend, Leslie Thompson, whose nickname's Poetry. Right that same minute he saw me, and he began to quote between puffs one of his more than 100 memorized poems. It was about the wind, which I guess his heavy breathing had reminded him of. It went like this. I saw you toss the kites on high and blow the birds about the sky. And all around I heard you pass like ladies' skirts across the grass. O wind, a-blowin' all day long. O wind, that sings so loud a song. That was one of my favorite poems. Pretty soon Poetry and I were lying in the long, mashed-down grass, watching the white clouds hanging in the lazy blue sky and listening to each other catch his breath. He started quoting the second verse, getting about halfway through when he was very suddenly interrupted by somebody spraying water in his face with a squirt gun. Even I was half mad for a minute because some of the water spattered in my face. Besides, I'd been sort of dreaming about the wind that Poetry's poem was describing, and nobody likes to have his thoughts interrupted. Poetry had just been saying, I saw the different things you did, but always you, you yourself you hid. I felt you push, I heard you call, I could not see yourself at all. And then he started to gasp and sputter and get red in the face and roll over and sit up and say something. And from the bushes behind us there came a squawky voice imitating Poetry's. It said, The rain is raining all around. It rains on field and tree. It rains on umbrellas here and on the ships at sea. I knew right away which one of the Sugar Creek gang it was, because he was the only one of us who was more disgusted than the rest of us with Poetry's poetry. He was always quoting one of them himself just to make it seem ridiculous. Even if I hadn't heard his voice and seen his brown hair on his hatless head, his blue eyes and monkey-like face, I'd have known it was circus. He came cartwheeling toward us in grand style, just like an acrobat on a county fair stage, only better. Well, the next minute, Circus and Poetry and I were all in a tangled-up scramble like a bunch of boys in a football game. Poetry especially was grunting and trying to unroll himself from the rest of us. In fact, our 6 pairs of arms and legs, making 12 altogether, sort of looked like a lot of fishing worms in a knot. We hadn't any more than unscrambled ourselves when there came more running feet in our direction, and in another minute we were 4 instead of 3. This time it was a spindle-legged little guy with very large, bulging eyes and a nose that was crooked at the end. His actual name was Roy Gilbert, but we called him Dragonfly because his eyes were enormous, almost too big for his little head, which a real dragonfly's are, but which, of course, Dragonfly's eyes weren't. That little chattering, pop-eyed member of our gang was always seeing things before the rest of us were, and sometimes he saw things that really weren't there at all. He was right, though, when he saw that big savage bear, which we killed, and which I told you about in one of the other Sugar Creek gang stories. He was also right the time he saw that bank robber, whom we helped capture. On top of that, Dragonfly was also right when he saw the ghost running, or flying, or something, in that same old cemetery one night. Oh, but that's almost telling you a secret that I'm saving until another chapter, and which didn't happen until after Poetry's innocent lamb had followed him to school. Anyway, pretty soon Big Jim, the leader of our gang, came swishing down the path. He stopped in the shade of the bushes beside us and started catching his breath like the rest of us. I couldn't help but notice that the little fuzzy mustache he'd shaved off just before we'd taken our trip to Chicago was still off, with not even a sign of its having begun to grow again. In fact, it hadn't been long enough to shave in the first place. Big Jim was a great leader, I tell you, a fierce fighter and as strong as anything. His hands were calloused from hard work, which he even liked to do. Each one of us lay in a different direction, chattering away and waiting for the rest to come. Little Jim, our smallest, was nearly always late because he had to practice his piano lesson right after the noon meal each Saturday. He was getting to be a great player, his mom being the best musician in all Sugar Creek territory. Pretty soon I heard somebody coming. I looked around a corner of the elder bush I was lying under, and it was little Jim, just poking along barefoot, his new, clean blue denim overall.